Hi everyone, I'm Tabitha and today we're talking about books. Last month I started a new thing. We're on the last Tuesday of every month, like today. I'm going to do a video where I give the reviews of all the books I finished in that month. So here's a few important things you need to know before we start. Number one, these reviews are my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you've read one of the books that I review this month, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Just please make sure to respect my opinion and the work that the author put in. Number two, I read everything. Don't expect a single genre or age category or even release here. If you're a little more picky about what you read, look for and pay attention to my Who Would Like This Book section of each review. That'll tell you if this book will fit the thing that you're looking for. Number three, if you think there's a book that I should be reading based on a review you see, drop it in the comments and I will add it to my TBR. I should warn you though that my TBR is over 300 books strong, so I don't know when I'll get to it. Number four, I do make these videos on the day I finish the book and piece them all together, so just be warned. And number five, I do have a goal to read 104 books this year. That's 2 per week. So these are going to be really long videos. Buckle up. Hello. It is May 7th, and I just finished books 1, 2, and 3 for the month of May. I'm reviewing them all together because they are a trilogy. Boom. This series was actually an oldie but a goodie. I read it originally in junior high, in middle school, because Christopher Pike was like the thriller god when I was younger, right? I hope some of you are with me on that. My mom found it in her house, and I thought, whoa, I got to read it again. Turns out I didn't remember the story that well. Anyway, so I'm reviewing them as one review today, books 1, 2, and 3, but this is my May reads. So originally published 1988, 1988, 1989 by Christopher Pike, Archway paperbacks. They are young adult and they are a thriller, I would say. Page count. So we're at 212, 226, 238 for a total of 676 pages, which it took me 5 days to read. Actual titles: Final Friends, The Party, Final Friends, The Dance, Final Friends, The Graduation. All right, what didn't I like? Because I like to start with what I didn't like so I can end on a positive note. What didn't I like? Honestly, in these two books, books 1 and books 2, the romance sex angle kind of seemed overdone, which is weird because it really didn't have any until book 3, but it just felt like the characters were overly obsessed with it. You know what I'm saying? So that was like, maybe a little overdone. And I know it's YA and it still was a little overdone. The funny part is Christopher Pike was definitely ahead of the game on including diverse characters. I mean, we're talking about the late 80s here, and yet you've got a gay character, and it touches on disability, and it touches on some other things, but honestly, all cliche. And I wasn't overly excited about the way that it was painted. You included other characters, but you included them in a very cliche way. So I was disappointed in that. So stereotypes bugged me. So what did I like? Overall, Christopher Pike, I feel like I thought he was the master when I was younger because his thrillers rock. His thrillers were thrilling. His thrillers are scary. His thrillers are intense. He has actual mystery, and it delivered on that all the way through. However, read it as one story because what starts in this book doesn't end until this one. So the mystery itself runs 3 books. It really is one story, but because he was targeting YA, 676 pages probably wouldn't sell. So overall, good thriller. I did not remember the ending, even though I'd read it before, so I was surprised all over again. It was awesome. Cute side romance plots happening all over the place. Cutesy, lovey-dovey YA romance, which you already know I'm a fan of cute YA romance. So overall rating, who should read this book? If you grew up loving Christopher Pike like I did, read it again. The nostalgia factor alone is really cool. If you like thrillers and you want to read one that maybe shocks you that you don't see coming, go for it. Overall rating, I'm going with 3 stars. I'm not sure. It might have been lower if I didn't have the nostalgia factor. I'm not sure. I loved it. I mean, I liked it because of that. So, but I had to give it a 3-star rating because I think the nostalgia was part of the reason I liked it so much. So it might be lower for some of you, maybe if you don't have that nostalgia, but I'm not sure. I'd love to know if you read this one. Let me know what you think. But these are them. The Party, the Dance, the Graduation, the Final Friends trilogy by Christopher Pike. Hello. This is my 4th book for the month of May, and I debated about whether or not to even include this one because I've read it or listened to it as an audiobook, and it's also in a series. And I don't normally do that unless I can review the whole series at the same time like I did earlier this month. So anyway, I'm going to do it. I just decided I'm going to do it. I'm going for it. So the book, it was an audiobook, like I said. So it's this book we're talking about. I know, sorry about the reflection. It's called Destined by PC and Kristin Cast. PC and Kristin Cast. The print version would be 325 pages. Like I said, I do audiobook in the car or when I'm cleaning, whatever. And it took me like 3 days on audiobook. It was published in 2011 by Adam Publishing, and it's a YA, I'd call it fantasy. And I think I said it's in the series. It's in the House of Night series. It's the 9th book in the House of Night series. Okay, what didn't I like about this story? This series started out with some really strong, independent girls. And I was like, yes, I really liked that. And at this point, I'm 9 books into the series. The girls have all paired off with stronger men. And some of the girls, maybe all 3 of the ones I was thinking of, have faded back into not quite as strong of a character. So they're almost falling into his shadow. That bugged me, but I hold out hope that there's a message coming. There's parts of this book that I felt like I could have skipped and still understood the story just fine. And Zoe's obsession with Heath bothers me because she's with somebody new. It's a serious thing. Anyways, let's get into what I did like. I still really like these characters. I still really like the relationships, mostly the friend relationships right now that I'm digging. Like Stevie Ray and Zoe. I'm really liking those relationships still. I still like this whole idea of vampires and kids going to school to be a vampire and this whole new class of vampire popping up. I really still kind of like that idea. It's pretty cool. So basically, I still really like the idea and the characters for the overall series, which is how I ended up 9 books into this series, which I just found out today is like 12. I'm getting closer. Anyway, who should read this? If you, like me, have already read the rest of them and you're already hooked, you might as well just keep going with me, right? We'll just do this together. We'll just keep going. If you're a huge fan of vampires and you're looking for something just a little bit different, like young fledgling vampires and not necessarily, vampire Lestat kind of thing, read this. My overall rating, going with 3 stars. Again, it's every book in this series so far I've rated 3 stars. I feel like there are parts of the plot that are utterly forgettable. And so that makes it 3 stars. So that's my 4th book for the month of May. And technically it was an audiobook, but if you, like me, believe audiobooks are books too, then you won't have a problem with that. I am back with my 5th book for the month of May. I was doing math. I think it's the 5th. The book we're talking about is this one. It's called Don't Look Now by Max Manning. Published in 2018 by Source Books, technically Source Books Landmark. It is 302 pages, and I read it in about 3 days, and I would call it an adult thriller. I do want to say really quick that I think I read somewhere that this had another title. It did. This is the same book as the book with the title Now You See by Hachette UK, which was also 2018. So same title, same book. I mean, Max Manning. Okay, so let's start with what I didn't like because I like to do that and get it out of the way. I wanted more character development to help me connect to our main characters because as it was, I wasn't overly invested in any of them. But if this turns out to be a series, that could be why. He could be delaying us on some of that until we come back. But I wanted a little more. I liked them, so I wanted a little more of their background, if that makes sense. I was hoping the social media watcher angle would be driven home even more. Like, I know sometimes I say I didn't like when things are overly done, but I wanted this to be more. I wanted this to be like a slap in the face, drive that home a little. By the way, the social media angle, I'm not ruining anything because it's bloop right there. It says, if a killer posted about his victims online, would you click? I wanted more of that introspective, would you, the reader angle, than I feel like we got. So what did I like? I should change this for this one too. What did I love? Because I loved these things that were done right, were done so right. Like, good job, Max Manning. The social media angle and this basic overall driving question are what made me pick up this book. That is a great essential question. That's a great hook. And I liked that. That was really cool. What did I love? I loved the mystery, you guys. I was not 100% right. And I love, only in books, being wrong, only in books, about what's going to happen. I was not all the way right. I did not have it figured out. And I love that. I love it. So that was awesome. I loved the fast-paced ending. I finished the entire second half of this book in like one afternoon. You hit a point where there is no putting it down. You have to keep going. It was amazing. Good job. Good ending. So who should read this? If you're somebody who likes plot-driven thrillers, if you're a mystery fan, if you like to be shocked or surprised, if you're intrigued by this leading question, if a killer was posting about his victims online, would you click? Read the book. That's what I'm going to say. You should read it if that's you. My overall rating, I went 4 stars. I think that this social media angle will appeal to a wider audience, which takes it out of that niche genre. So I think 4 stars all the way. This one's recommended, you guys. I'm gonna say this one's recommended. Go find you this one. I am so shocked that I'm doing another one of these videos this fast. It is May 10th. I just want to throw that. It's 10 days into the month of May. You know, if you watched last month's, my goal is 8 books in the month. And I'm about to show you the videos for my reviews for my 6th and 7th books for May. So I'm just like flying through these, which is great. Part of the reason I'm flying through these is because I found this new series, the one I'm going to talk about today, that I'm like, fangirling obsessed with. I keep having to go for the next one. So I read the 2nd and 3rd books in the Mortal Instrument series. I don't even know how many days, but let's just say it was not a lot and it went very fast. So I actually did audiobooks. I do audiobooks for both of these. And this is, I don't know who the narrator is. I need to find out. Oh, Natalie Moore. The narrator, Natalie Moore, who reads these audiobooks, she does a great job with the voices and the character and the pacing, and I just love her, and it took me right in. It's almost like a movie. It's wonderful. Even better than normal, because I don't know, maybe I like her voice better than mine. Anyway, so the 2 books, if you are like me and you're one of the only people in the world who hadn't read this series, which most of you are probably like, yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this. I've read it. I know, I'm behind the times. 2nd book in the Mortal Instrument series is The City of Ashes. That's this one. In a print version, it would be 453 pages, and it came out in 2008. And the 3rd one is City of Glass. Print version would be 541 pages, and it came out in 2009. Both of these are published by Margaret K. McElderry Books, I think. And like I said, I did the audio version, which not my first one this month for audio, but hopefully you, like me, think audiobooks are books too, so you count it. Let's start with, and they're young adult fantasy. Let's talk about what I didn't like so I can get to what I did. There are a few characters in this book, and I'm not going to name names, who I'm not crazy about. But it's not that they're not written well. They are written very, very well. I just am not crazy about them. So I guess one thing that I kept thinking was, if they're written well enough that I actually have an opinion about them being bad people, then good writing, right? The other thing I didn't like was that I figured out one of the big surprises for book 3 while I was reading book 2. Oops. I know what else I was going to say. I said that I call them YA fantasy. They are actually labeled at my library as young adult horror. I don't think I would agree with that, but maybe you do. I don't know, whatever. It's just a genre, right? It's just to help you. What did I like? What did I love? I loved the action in the 2nd and 3rd book were well written, but in the 3rd book, the action was like boom, like really, really well written. Felt like I was right there. If you're writing yourself and you're looking for books to study that have like action for teens, for young adult, read that third book, City of Glass. The plot is interesting, and both of these books are plot driven. The plot drives this entire story. You'll be interested in it. You'll be following along. You'll be invested, which is why I immediately downloaded the third after listening to the second. The side romances are adorable. I love YA with cute little adorable side romances that I can, enjoy and listen to and like, and that these are adorable and I love them. I know what, and what I didn't like, I said I didn't like some of the characters. I love some of these characters, like not just the character, the way they interact with each other. And I'm not talking about just the cute little romances, but like the way some of these characters interact. Jace and Simon, I love their whole frenemies thing they have going on. I love them. I really do. So some of these characters are just amazing. And you know what? Honestly, I was worried because like I said, I read this and immediately downloaded that, which is why I cannot tell you how many days it took me to read these two because I read them back to back. But this book, City of Glass, the third one in the Mortal Instrument series, has a very satisfying ending. I'm very happy, which is funny because I found out there's more, which I'm sure I will read, or listen to, one of the two. But this had a nice satisfying ending, so it won't leave you crazy. By the way, I don't think I said these books are by Cassandra Clare. I don't think I said that. Okay, so who should read this series? I'm going to say series, but these books as part of the series. If you are young adult, world building fantasy fans, boom, this is your niche right here. This is your lifeblood. Okay, so angels, demons, vampires, fairies. If these appeal to you, boy, if I get a series for you. This one right here is loaded with all of those. All of those make an appearance. Cool. If you are a fan of young adult that has side romances, it's not like the plot is all romance, but the side romances make your like heart flutter and you're like, oh, they're so cute. That would be this one. So I'm going to recommend this series. I went 4 stars on both of these books. Recommended. They're great, but most of you have probably already read them. But Mortal Instrument series. Hi. Okay. It was a busy weekend and I finished 3 books this weekend. So I'm going to do the reviews back to back for book number 8, book number 9, and book number 10 for the month of May. Yikes. Okay. First, we're talking about this one. So this is the Chronicles of Henny by Kerri Davidson. Published in 2018. Kerri independently publishes. So the books are available exclusively at the website bagoflettuce.com. It is 74 pages. Doesn't take long to read at all. It's supposed to be a nice, fast, fun, refreshing sort of read. So you can find that, you can read that really quickly in one day. Genre or age category would be adult. Genre would be like humor. It's a comic book style humor for adults. So let's start with what I didn't like so that I can end on a good note. By the way, I'm being real picky here. I'm stretching for something that I didn't like. A few of the jokes, you almost roll your eyes like, ooh, too far. Kind of like when you're watching a movie, same kind of thing, intended for adults and written to be funny. Some of the words, because we're talking about comic strips and they're squeezed in, some of the words can be a little hard to read if I'm being picky, but I know this is volume 1 and there's a volume 2 and a volume 3. So volume 3 should be coming soon, I think. Kerri, right? I think. So who knows if that's still true in the other ones. So what did I like? There are some great jokes in here. It is an all-around funny, offbeat comedy. If that's your style and that's what you like, it's great. Delivers exactly what she promises. Goofy, crazy, offbeat humor. In fact, I can give you this synopsis. It says, the Chronicles of Henny follows the life and struggles of a foul-mouthed, aggressive, drunken chicken named Henny. He's just trying to find his place in the world, which sometimes has disastrous and hilarious consequences. This is just the start of his story. So it delivers exactly on that. It's funny and it's foul-mouthed and it's just, I laughed. I enjoyed it. It's exactly what she promised. I also, by the way, enjoyed the message from the author back here that tells us where the idea came from Henny and why Kerri put these into this book and why she's doing this. I really like that. So who should go to bagoflettuce.com and find the Chronicles of Henny? If you like to laugh, if you are not offended by drinking and drinking related humor and all around goofiness, this is for you. If you don't take life too seriously, you don't take yourself too seriously, and you don't think your book should be too serious either, I'd say this is for you. I am going to go 4 stars because it's got, I'm not a niche audience, but it does have a slightly more specific audience, but I absolutely loved it. And, you know, who doesn't love a good laugh? Chronicles of Henny, Volume 1 by Kerri Davidson, exclusively available at bagoflettuce.com. Go find it. Go get it. And I love that the coloring matches that game that I'm not mentioning, right? Because it's not what we're talking about here, but you recognize the coloring looks like a game. Similar kind of humor. Okay. I'm just going to keep going because, like I said, it was a busy weekend. The 9th book I read for the month of May is also a shorter one. This one is called Lola, Sam, and the Jackalope. It's by J. Franklin Green. I had a chance to meet him. He's an Arizona author. His name is actually John, but John Green would be a different author. So he goes by J. Franklin on some of his books. It's published 2017 by Lulu. It is 96 pages. Age group, I'd say children's, maybe middle grades, contemporary fiction. Basically, our synopsis, we've got 2 dogs, one of them from the city and the other from the wilds of northern Arizona, become best friends and share countless adventures. That's our fast synopsis. So what didn't I like? It could use some formatting help to make it a little easier to follow, a little easier to understand where the chapters start. You know, silly things, formatting if I'm being picky. Some of the time, some of the animals use native dialect, and it can be a little hard to read. Almost like Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. When you read those, that native dialect can be a little hard to read, a little hard to get into. Most of the time we're dealing with a narrator that seems to be the dog. There's a couple paragraphs where it switches and the narrator feels like it's the human, maybe to explain something to us humans would understand or whatever, but that inconsistency in the narrator bugged me just a little bit. So what did I like? Cute story overall from the point of view of the dogs. It kind of reminds me of like Homeward Bound, Incredible Journey. You know, you're following the dogs, but it's its own story. It doesn't track like that story. The photos are a cool touch. I don't know for sure, but because they talk about the main character, the main human character having a camera, I would imagine these are actually John's pictures. So the photography was kind of cool and matched with what they were talking about. I really liked the final chapter, the final story, the final chapter, the one that seemed to bring it all together with the jackalope involved in the story. I really kind of enjoyed that one. That was kind of cool. And it was a great way of ending the story and ending the tale and giving it a good moral and a good touch. So that final chapter was really cool. So who should go find this one? People who want an almost literary tale from a dog's point of view. This would be a good one for you. If you're familiar with Ash Fork or you're from Ash Fork, Arizona, or you just in general love Ash Fork, Arizona, it's well represented here in this book. Ash Fork, Arizona is well represented in this book. Overall, I'm going to go 3 stars for this one. It's not a bad story. It has a lot of promise, but it has a niche audience. Not everybody's going to love this one right away. I would say you don't have to be a child to enjoy this one. If you feel like you would like a story from a dog's point of view that's kind of literary a little bit, you probably would like this quite a bit, even if you're an adult. So that's my 9th book for the month of May, Lola, Sam, and the Jackalope by J. Franklin Green, 3 stars. And the last one that I read this weekend, it was a busy weekend, 10th one for the month of May. This is the book Every Day by David Levithan. I might be saying that wrong. Published in 2012 by Ember, which is a division of Random House. It's 323 pages. I think it took me 1 or 2 days. It's young adult, I would say. And can I say contemporary fantasy? I mean, could be taking place in modern day, but deals with things that are a little fantastical, I suppose. Let me give you the synopsis. You'll see what I mean. Every morning, A wakes up in a different person's body in a different person's life. That's the basic premise for this story, which I have to admit drew me right in right away. What a cool premise for a story. The blurb, I guess, on the front says every day a different body, every day a different life, every day in love with the same girl. Really cool premise, really cool idea behind a story. I like that. So, but you can see what I mean by fantasy a little. Okay, so what didn't I like? I have to dig for this. So I would say the obsession of first love is just a bit overdone, but then first love is obsessive, right? It can be obsessive. So I see that, but it felt a bit overdone to me a couple of times. What did I love about this story? the ability of the main character A, to see diversity is amazing. That's the only word I can think of. It's amazing. Of course, A changes roles every day. So if A wakes up in the body of someone who is blind or who is depressed or who is addicted to drugs, you get to see that in a really unique way that isn't always captured in literature. And that was really cool. Like, that alone is worth reading for. That was really, really cool. Highly recommended if that sounds cool to you. Like I said, the overall premise for the story, I love it. I love that. I love the way it played out. I love the way it worked. I love that David Levithan stuck to that the whole time. Like, A doesn't look for a way out. This is just A's life. This is the way it is. Very cool. The other thing I like, so you think this story is going one way, and then whoop, it goes a different way. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's going this way. Ah, just kidding. It's going this way. Oh, so I love that. I love to be shocked. I love the path the plot takes when it twists and it turns. I was way into that. I really, really enjoyed it. It kept me turning pages, which is why I read it so fast. A, as a fluid main character, is so different, yet so vibrant, because we're used to our main character being, even if they're a character that's fluid, there's some semblance of static. There's some semblance of this character's the same all the time. A's in a different body every day. So we lose that. And instead we get this really dynamic main character, and it's intense, but it's really cool. And I very much liked it. You get a true feeling for A behind all these people. But yeah, it was just really cool. Very unique, very cool. So who should read this? If you like character-driven stories, if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for how to understand or explain that everyone is different, but yet everyone shares some common similarities, right? Like some human basic common similarities. This book is great for that. This would make an excellent book study, chapters at a time or whole books at a time, with high school readers, teenage readers, or even book clubs. This is some excellent book study, book club, talk about it material. This edition that I have here happens to include some bonus chapters, that come for 6 days earlier than our story. Really cool if you can manage to get your hands on that one, because the bonus 6 chapters are pretty interesting as well. And overall rating, I'm going 5 stars on this one. I really, really think this is if you have a book club, you should go with this one. Adult or teenage readers should go with this one for their book club. Excellent, wonderful read, highly recommended, 5 stars every day, David Levithan. All right, so that is my books, number 8, number 9, and number 10 for the month of May. Whew. I'll see you next time. Hi. Okay, I just finished my 11th book for the month of May. Actually, I'm going to do my 11th and my 12th today because I finished both. The 11th book for the month of May was this one. We're talking about Damned by Chuck Palahniuk. Sorry, saying it wrong, I'm sure. Chuck Palahniuk? I don't know. It was published in 2011 by Anchor Books. It is 247 pages. I read it in, I think, 3 days. Age category, adult. Genre, it's like a fantasy or horror humor blend. How's that? Yeah, so here's my synopsis. It is about a 13-year-old girl named Madison, and she's going to make the best out of winding up in hell. That's my synopsis. What didn't I like? Madison is a little too needy in the beginning. I can forgive some of that because she gets better as the plot unfolds, but she's bordering on annoying at the beginning, but I think it was on purpose. It felt like some of it dragged just a little bit. Parts of it were definitely slower than others. So what did I like? The vivid, although disgusting, picture of hell works for this story. I mean, hell's not going to be a good place, so it's okay that it's disgusting, I think. It definitely is descriptive. You can definitely imagine it. He's got jokes, man. Some of his jokes are sly. Some of them are funny. And that's the reason why I added humor in that genre. The odd cast of characters here are like, yeah, they're like the Breakfast Club from hell. I mean, I really thought that was kind of neat. The different characters and the different ways that they all come together. That was kind of cool. This whole entire concept is really pretty cool and very interesting and different. Basically, he took a teeny bopper cast from a young adult novel and he wanted them to learn, teeny bopper young adult style lessons, but he set the whole thing in hell, and uses some language in some situations that shoved it to adult, I think, but very cool concept overall. Who would like this one? Who should go pick this one up? If you are intelligent enough to handle big words, go for it. If you get frustrated by big words, this is full of them. So just that's fair warning. If you are the kind of person who's not easily grossed out, you were intrigued by this concept, you want a different take on hell in general, and you are not afraid of a joke and not easily offended, I would say grab this one. For me, it was 4 stars because I fit all of those categories and I like to laugh and I'm not easily offended. So if that describes you, go grab a copy of this book. I hear that there may be a second one, but I have not read it. So maybe I'll look for it. 4 stars. This is my 11th book for the month of May. I'm going to jump right into the 12th because I didn't have time to film them in between. My 12th book for the month of May, which is funny because they, I don't know, they have a similar offbeat kind of humor. Maybe I was in that kind of mood. Is Lucky You by Carl, I'm going to mess this name up too, Hiaasen, maybe? Came out in 1997 by Warner Books. It's 483 pages. It took me 7 days, I think. Adult is our age category. I'd say contemporary fiction / humor is our genre. Summary, Jolene's lottery numbers finally hit, but there's another winning ticket, and those winners, they don't want to share. What didn't I like? Again, I'm going to say some parts felt a little slow or maybe even unnecessary. The wannabe militia boys characters that come up, they're offensive and they're crass. They're supposed to be. But, you know, sometimes it borders on offensive. They're really crass, man. So what did I like? Carl Hiaasen is always on point with his humor. He's funny. I like his books. They're ridiculous and weird and funny all at the same time, and I love it. The oddball situations that our characters end up in is exactly what you expect from him, and I loved it. We throw in a bunch of religious sites that's almost to the point of making fun of it, which is funny. It worked, and it drove the plot along, and it's if you tried to describe everything that happens in this plot, people would think you were crazy, but it works and it's funny and I liked it. Jolene is a great main character. She's very driven. She knows exactly what she wants. She has a goal and a target in mind, and she's going to work towards that all the time. So her character is very true to herself, and I really liked that. So who should read this? If you are a fan of offbeat plot or unusual circumstances, you should be reading his books, but specifically this one, it was really good. If you like unusual characters, you can get into that. If you're strange is sort of your thing, I would highly suggest this. If you're like a Monty Python fan, you should be reading him. He's funny. I ended up going 4 stars for this one because I do like his humor and I do like his strange plots. So I just finished my 13th book for the month of May. So we're talking about this one right here. It's called Lost in Amber by Esther Rabbit. Lost in Amber was published in 2019. So this is a pretty relatively new one for me. It is indie published. I believe she went with Amazon, so you can find it on Kindle or Amazon. It is 364 pages. Took me like 8 days to read it. Esther classifies this one as new adult paranormal romance. So we'll default to her and her age and genre. So synopsis. So we have an interplanetary alliance ambassador is on an earthbound mission to rescue a handful of genetically altered humans. So you got a lot of sci-fi space stuff going on there, which is kind of cool. Okay, so I like to start with what I didn't like, get it out of the way. So what I didn't like, the opening chapter is a lot of information all at once in a format that isn't necessarily intriguing. So I actually reread the beginning and skipped this part, and I enjoyed the book a lot more. So I'm not necessarily saying you should do that. I just like to start with stuff that I didn't like. There were some parts in the story that moved a little too fast for me. Had to reread a few things, but I liked it when I reread it, so that was good. And then sometimes we get information related to a character's backstory, which is good, but delivered in a way that's almost confusing. I don't know, maybe it's too casually dropped for me, and it took me a second to realize it was backstory. I'm not even sure. You know, it makes sense because if you think about it, the characters have known these backstory things their entire lives. So I get it. I get why it was dropped like that. But I'm just learning them. So sometimes I had to reread it. Okay, so let's get to what I did like. That's more fun, right? What I did like. This overall concept of aliens and then genetically altered humans, that's, I mean, it's obviously not exactly new, but this story took it in a different direction, and I liked that. I like when a story goes different than I expect, which is really cool. It feels like the first book in a series, with the budding romance thing, that budding romance subplot thing done right. So what I mean by that is it leaves enough of what could be a future relationship left for the next book without making it feel like, you've heard it all before. Sometimes I think if there's a side romance plot, a lot of times it's totally resolved and they seem like they have their happily ever after by the end. So it's like, what this romance subplot's going to be done by the end of the first book. This did not do that. So this was cool. So they gave you just enough of that romance subplot to make you be like, ooh, now I want to know if that keeps going in the second book. So that was cool. Zoe is a character who has a lot of promise. There are hints that were like barely scratching the surface of what Zoe is capable of, which is really cool. That makes her intriguing and it makes me want to find out more about her, which is kind of awesome. So who should read this one? If you are a hopeless romantic like me, who likes relationships to kind of slow burn in a book, this is totally for you because that's exactly what you're looking at here. Aliens, technological advancement, greater abilities. Is that your style? Give this book a read. If you're curious about the new adult genre, new adult age category and exactly what that means, you might as well dive in, right? This is a new adult. New adult, for those of you who have never heard that before, is an age category that refers to a book that's beyond young adult, maybe, not quite classified as adult. So it has a lot of similarities between the new adult, young adult genre age category, but maybe goes a little over there. So geared towards that 20-somethings age range, I guess. Okay, overall rating. So I would call this 3.5 stars. I rounded up to 4 for Goodreads. Of course, Goodreads doesn't do halves. I'd call it's 4 stars. We're going 4 stars for this one. I assume there's going to be a second one. Like I said, it reads like a first one in the series, more coming. And so I'm assuming there's going to be a second one and I will be looking for it right along with you. So that was Lost in Amber by Esther Rabbit. I'll show you that pretty cover one more time. All right, I just finished my 14th book for May, which also happens to be, I think, the 4th indie book I read this month, which is good because I also have a kind of side goal to read at least 2 indie books every month. Anyway, here's the book we're talking about. She's Not Here by Mandi Lynn. It's a 2018 release. Mandi is an indie author, but she publishes using Stone Ridge Books. This one is 285 pages and it is young adult. We'll call it fiction. You know what? I'm saying young adult, and now I'm thinking I'm not entirely sure if that's true. It could be adult fiction. Yeah, it could be. Okay, so our quick synopsis. Willow's life was forever changed by her father's Alzheimer's, but when an opportunity comes along to work toward a cure, will she hesitate to change someone else's? What I didn't like. I'm usually not real picky about typos. I usually don't even notice them, but there are some big typos in this one that actually completely change the meaning of a sentence or can be really confusing. For example, one of the characters' names is Sam, and one time it says same instead of Sam, which gets real confusing. So typos, there's a few of those. Willow as a main character, I know this is intentional, but it always irks me just a little when a main character makes absolutely terrible life choices, and you almost want to sit her down and talk to her and smack her. I don't know, wake her up, like that. Wake up. So that always kind of irks me when the main character does that, but I know it was intentional. Yeah, I know it was intentional. So what did I like? Because that's always better to talk about. The overarching concept right here. We've read lots of books or seen lots of movies where the main character has to decide, is one life worth thousands, right? And depending on who that one person is it worth thousands? That comes up a lot. But there's a difference here that I liked. It made this a little more unique, a little more... Yeah, unique. I'm going to go with unique. And I really like that. I like that whole concept. Would you sacrifice one life for thousands, maybe even millions? I like the drama that runs through the whole story, the drama related to Willow's decisions and what's created there. And what I liked that. And I'm not always big on the drama, but I liked that. In this case, I really liked that. It really worked. Dr. Ash as a character is amazing. He's wonderful. So Dr. Ash, I feel like makes up for everything that I didn't like about Willow, and her poor decision making is made up for in Dr. Ashe, and I like that. But as a side note, I also like the fact that Willow is still the main character. We're not all perfect, right? We don't all make great life choices. And I like the fact that Mandi chose to follow the character who doesn't make good life choices, even with Dr. Ashe as an opportunity there, because he does. So that was kind of cool. So who should read this one? If your go-to, like, I need to watch a TV show is medical dramas, this is a good book for you. If you like your main characters to be a questionable person, if you like that idea, if you are drawn to the idea of a messy main character who makes terrible life choices, she's got you here. Willow is that. Main characters shouldn't always be perfect. If you agree with that sentence, I would say give this one a shot. Overall, I went 4 stars, and I have to be honest, if I'm being completely real, indie or not, if this had no typos, I think this one would have been a 5-star for me. So because I think it will appeal to a wider audience anyway. This is a book that will appeal to a lot of people. Unfortunately, I just knocked it to 4 just because of the typos, but honestly, this one's a good one. Maybe find this one. Mandi Lynn, you can find her on, you know what? I'm gonna do this. You can find her here, mandilynn.com or stoneridgebooks.com. Can you see that? Is that blurry? Yeah, you can find her there, and stoneridgebooks.com or mandilynn.com. And I can put that in the comments. Anyway, that's where you can find a copy of this book. Recommended. This is a good one. And that should be my last book for May. Yay. So I'll see you next time. That's it for me. I think that's my last one. So I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget, drop a comment if you have a book you think I would like based on what you saw today. Or if you have an opinion about one of these books, maybe that you also read, or just because you want me to know what you're thinking. Drop a comment and I do read them all. Bye. See you next time.